Welcome to Reddit Stories, where OP uses ChatGPT to write his wedding vows and really ends up regretting it. Am I the jerk for using AI to write my wedding vows? I, 35 male, recently had a wedding with my partner who's 34 female. We've had a stable and happy relationship so far, and I love her more than anything in the world. The problem arose when it came to writing vows. I love many things about my partner, but I couldn't figure out how to put them into actual vows. I decided to use ChatGPT so I could have something well-written and expressive to share at the ceremony. Now, my partner is very confrontational and no-nonsense. If something annoys her, she addresses it immediately. I also know she's expressed disdain for AI before, but I didn't realize how deep that went. Somehow, she immediately recognized that the vows were AI written. After I finished, she gave me this angry look and whispered, "Did you use AI to write that?" I froze because I couldn't even believe that she noticed, and she chose to confront me in front of everyone. She told me to either speak from the heart or she would walk out. I literally couldn't get any words out, and she kept her promise and walked back down the aisle, leaving everyone confused. She's been ghosting me for days now, which is unusual for her and honestly giving me panic attacks. Most people say calling off a marriage over AI vows is an overreaction and maybe a sign of a bigger issue, but a few female friends said that they would have done the same. I'm hurt. I just wanted help making the day more special. Is it worth fixing? Edit. Okay, I messed up. I avoided checking this post because I wanted more perspectives instead of just getting torn apart, but I understand why the situation is worse than I thought. I've been trying to contact her family to see if I can talk to her, but apparently she's staying out of state with her sister. When she gets back, I'm going to tell her everything I learned here and that I understand now. I'll write new vows without AI and bring her favorite flowers and snacks. I still want her to know that I love her and I know her. I'll post an update when I can. Thank you, even if some of the feedback was harsh. The part that really stands out is how quickly your partner recognized the vows were AI. That tells me this wasn't an isolated issue. You knew she hated AI, and you still rolled the dice hoping she wouldn't mind. That's the same pattern you see in relationships where someone ignores repeated warnings and is shocked when their partner finally walks away. This doesn't feel like she left because of AI vows. It feels like this was the tip of the iceberg. Honestly, this whole thing has "she left me because I didn't do the dishes" vibe. Not because vows don't matter, but because your post reads like there's a lot you aren't realizing about how checked out you've been. You talk about wanting things perfect, but perfection wasn't the issue. She wanted something real. I'm glad she had the clarity to walk away before signing up for years of feeling unheard by you. Update. I told her about the Reddit post and how the replies helped me understand her perspective. She got even more angry about posting our business, even though no names were used. She couldn't believe I needed strangers online to explain why I was wrong. Apparently, my mom had also been texting her about paying back the wedding costs, and she blamed me for that too, which I don't think is fair. I can't control what my family does. The flowers and snacks didn't help. She won't give me another chance, even after I offered couples counseling. So yes, the wedding is officially done. It's over. This has been the worst time of my life. I felt like giving up. Meanwhile, she's posting brunch pictures with friends on social media. It makes me wonder how she moved on so fast while I'm falling apart. People say I didn't care enough to write my own vows, yet our reactions to the breakup feel like the opposite. I hope you're all happy. Feel free to pile on. I won't return to this account. Your mom blowing up her phone about the wedding costs and you shrugging it off and saying, "I can't control that," actually says a lot about the whole situation. That same passiveness is probably exactly what exhausted her. The AI vows weren't the whole story. They were the final straw after a long pattern of you letting things happen around you without taking ownership. You keep saying people accused you of not caring enough to write your own vows, but your reactions and hers tell the opposite story. She left because she saw a future where she'd be carrying the emotional weight alone, and she didn't want that. You're devastated because you just realized what she had already known for a while. I don't think she moved on fast. I think she was done long before the AI vows. AI wedding vows. What a time to be alive. Honestly, he should have just written, "I like you a lot" on a napkin. More effort. At least the napkin wouldn't have had a lot of auto-generated emojis. And it probably wouldn't have asked, "Would you like me to expand?" either. Am I the jerk for stealing my cousin's spotlight at her baby shower with my 2-month-old and my engagement ring? Usually I'm not part of drama, but this past weekend, drama found me. Or did I create it? That's why I'm here. I do not believe I did anything wrong here, but maybe I did. Please tell me if I was the jerk or not, because I'm genuinely confused. I'm 25 female, and my cousin Piper, who's 33, is pregnant with her first baby. My sister Kylie, who's 40, has a daughter named Clara, who's 11. I have 2 kids, Tommy, who's 3, and my 2-month-old son, who I'll call Little Man. Back in September, our family group chat lit up with a message from Piper. She sent a picture of a sonogram and a little save the date for her baby shower. She said she was due in early January and that a more formal invitation would come in the mail. I was sitting in Kylie's living room when the text came through. We looked at it once, looked at each other, and basically yelled. It was that mix of excitement and shock, because we had no idea she had managed to keep the pregnancy quiet for that long. A few weeks later, in mid-October, the actual invitation arrived. It said the shower would be a girls-only thing, plus details about games and food and a pastel theme. On that same day, my boyfriend of 5 years got down on one knee in our living room and asked me to marry him. I said yes. We cried a bit, laughed a lot, and I posted a simple engagement photo on my Facebook. I keep my social media small with just family and close friends. Everyone who would be at the shower already knew I was engaged well before the event. Kylie and I both messaged Piper about the kids. Between us, we have Clara, Tommy, and Little Man. I didn't want to be away from my kids for too long, and Clara was really excited about the idea of a baby shower. Piper said kids were allowed, and she was excited to meet Little Man. The shower was 4 hours away in another state, so we planned a whole day around it. As the day got closer, Fiancé and I talked through the plan. He said he'd take Tommy for the day and spend time with my brother-in-law, who's 40, and my nephew, who's 14, and do some guy stuff. Later, I found out it mostly meant throwing rocks at soda cans to see if anything would explode and coming up with their own little chaos projects. On Sunday morning, we loaded up Kylie's car. She drove. Clara sat in the back with headphones and a tablet. I was in the back seat on the other side with Little Man in his car seat. We stopped for gas, snacks, and one emergency diaper change. It felt like a small road trip, with my sister's upbeat playlist and Clara chattering about decorations, cakes, and cupcakes. In short, it was fun. We arrived at the venue around lunchtime. It was in a rented community room which was decorated with baby pink and white. There were little baby outfits hanging on a clothesline as decor. Super adorable and cutesy everywhere. I know they put a lot of effort into the shower. Piper was near the door greeting people. She looked very pregnant and very happy. The second she saw us, she came over with her arms out. She hugged me, then Kylie, then said hello to Clara. Then her eyes went straight to Little Man in his car seat. She asked if she could hold him, so I unbuckled him and put him in her arms. She spent the first stretch of the shower carrying him around the room and introducing him to her friends. She kept asking small questions about his sleep, his feeding, which baby gear I actually use, and what I thought about certain brands. It felt normal. It felt like a cousin who's about to have her first baby and is soaking up anything she can. During gift opening, we sat with Kylie and Clara. Every now and then, Piper would hold up a product and asked if I had used it. I would tell her what had worked for me and what had not. People laughed. It was all casual. Toward the end of the gifts, Piper's younger sister, who's 28, sat beside me. She took my hand to look at my ring for a second and asked about the proposal. We kept the conversation quiet and off to the side. No speeches, no standing up to make an announcement. It was the kind of low-key girl talk that people have at family events all the time. When the shower was done and people started drifting toward the door, I stepped outside with Little Man to get a bit of air while Kylie said goodbye inside. I was standing near the parking lot, bouncing him gently, when a small group walked out and came straight toward me. It was 3 of Piper's friends and her future mother-in-law. They didn't start with small talk. One of them asked if we could talk for a minute. I said sure, thinking maybe they wanted to gush about the baby or the shower. Instead, one of the friends told me that I had been selfish and rude. She said I had taken attention away from Piper on her day. I was confused and asked what she meant. She told me that bringing a tiny baby to a baby shower was like wearing a white dress to someone else's wedding. She said all the oohs and ahs over my son weren't cool. Then Piper's future mother-in-law started in. She looked at my ring and said I had been showing off my personal achievements at someone else's special event. She said it was inappropriate to talk about my engagement at a shower that was supposed to focus on Piper. I was caught off guard. I hadn't walked in waving my hand around. I hadn't stood up and made a speech about being engaged. I'd answered a few questions about the ring when Piper's sister brought it up, and Piper herself had asked to hold the baby and had bounced him on her hip like she was genuinely happy he was there. I apologized to the group. I said I hadn't meant to make the day about me. They didn't soften. They repeated that I had taken attention away and that I should think about how my choices affect other people's feelings. By the time I got back to the car, I felt heavy and confused. I kept replaying the day in my head. I remembered Piper smiling and laughing. I remembered her asking me baby questions. I remembered her sister leaning in quietly to talk about the engagement. Nothing in the room had felt tense or resentful. But now I had 4 women telling me I had basically broken some unspoken rule of etiquette. On the drive back, the feelings caught up with me and I ended up crying. I've always struggled with reading social situations. I can miss hints, and I worry about doing the wrong thing without realizing it. So the idea that I might have ruined the mood at my cousin's baby shower made my stomach knot up. Kylie told me that I didn't ruin anything. She said I'd asked about kids first, and Piper said yes. She reminded me that we didn't bring Tommy because my fiancé had volunteered to take him for the day. When we got home, I called my mom. I told her what had happened and asked if she thought I had been out of line. She said I should have kept a lower profile and let the attention stay on Piper. My granny and my aunt agreed with her and said it was Piper's special day and I shouldn't have let my engagement be a topic at all. On the other side, my fiancé, sister, brother-in-law, and a close friend all said that I had done nothing wrong. They said it was completely unrealistic to expect me to take off my ring or leave my baby at home after Piper specifically said she wanted to meet him. They said the group outside were just looking for something to complain about. So now I'm here. Some people are calling me rude, others say the group that cornered me were way out of line. I honestly don't know which side is right. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You didn't crash the party with surprise news or pull attention toward yourself. You asked before bringing your baby and you were told yes. Your engagement was announced weeks earlier, not at the shower. The people who cornered you outside crossed a line. It seemed like a personal attack. The best thing now is to talk to Piper. Ask if they were speaking for her. If she was bothered, you can apologize. If she's confused and had no idea, then you'll know it was a group of self-appointed gatekeepers creating drama. Let Piper handle her own circle. You came in good faith and followed the expectation she gave you. You don't need to carry guilt for something you didn't do. There's a huge difference between hijacking an event and simply existing as a person with your own life. You didn't announce your engagement at the shower, you just wore your ring. You brought a baby your cousin specifically invited. This idea that no one else is allowed to have anything good happening unless it's the guest of honor is getting absurd. You weren't supposed to hide your hand or pretend your child wasn't real. The rule is simple. Don't make your own announcements at someone else's event. You didn't. You just answered questions your cousin asked. The people who confronted you were looking for drama that wasn't there. You are not the problem. Update. After reading a lot of comments and hearing the same advice over and over, I realized there was really only one person whose opinion mattered in all of this, Piper, so I called her. I started the call by apologizing. I told her I was sorry if I had taken attention away from her at the shower. I said I never meant for my baby or my engagement to overshadow her day. I was ready for her to say that she had been hurt or that she had secretly felt frustrated but didn't know how to tell me. Instead, she said she had no idea what I was talking about. I felt my face get hot even though she couldn't see me. I told her about the end of the shower, how her mother-in-law and 3 of her friends had approached me outside when I was alone with the baby. I repeated what they had said about me being selfish for bringing a baby and about my ring being inappropriate. There was a long pause on the line. For a second, I thought the call had even dropped. Then I heard her voice again. She said she was still there. She was just grabbing her husband so he could hear it too. She put me on speaker, so I had to tell the whole story again. When I finished, I heard him audibly gasp. They both reassured me right away. Neither of them thought I had stolen any kind of spotlight. Piper told me she loved meeting Little Man and was glad he was there. She said she enjoyed asking me questions because she's nervous about becoming a first-time mom and needs people who will give her honest answers. She said talking quietly about my engagement with her sister didn't bother her at all. According to her, the shower had felt happy and relaxed until she heard what I just told her. Then she told me one of the friends who had confronted me outside is also newly engaged and about 2 months pregnant. Hearing that made what happened outside feel even stranger. Piper said it confused her too. She said if anyone in that group should understand what it's like to have multiple life events going on at once, it's that friend. Piper also told me she had expected her future mother-in-law to pull something at some point. She just thought it would be something small with decorations or food. She joked that she had half expected the pastries to mysteriously get changed to something the older woman preferred. She didn't expect her to pick a family member as a target and spin a whole story about stealing thunder out in the parking lot. After our call ended, Piper reached out to all of them. She asked straight out why they had confronted me. The friends backed down quickly. They apologized to her and admitted they didn't really think I had taken away attention. They said her mother-in-law had been muttering all afternoon about how I always cause drama and always need to be the center of attention. They didn't even know me. They only knew what she had told them. Her mother-in-law, though, is still stuck in her own version of events. She insists I was showing off. She says I was flaunting my engagement and my baby. Piper's husband told her that if she honestly thought there was a problem, she should have gone to him or to Piper directly during the shower instead of cornering a guest in the parking lot. I don't know what will happen between them. That's their side of the family to sort out. What I do know is that Piper and I are fine. More than fine. After we cleared the air, she asked if I could come visit again before her due date. She wants to go out for brunch and asked if I would help her pack her hospital bag because she feels overwhelmed by all of the lists online. Since the shower, life has kept moving in good ways. I went to my bestie's house and told her everything, and she kept handing me a soda bottle that didn't belong to me. I took it from her a couple of times without thinking about it, set it down, picked it back up. It took me way too long to notice that she had written, "I'm pregnant" on the side of it. So now I'm looking at 2 babies on the way. I'm so excited for both of them. Piper read my post and some of the comments with me. We both agreed on one thing. The idea that anyone should have to take off an engagement ring to attend someone else's event is ridiculous. So is the idea that a baby at a baby shower is automatically an insult. As long as no one's standing up and making surprise announcements, people are allowed to have lives outside of that one celebration. I'm happy that Piper and I are planning brunch instead of hating each other. And I'm very ready to welcome 2 new babies into the family and friend circle when their parents are ready for visitors, of course. Thank you all for your kind words and support. This update made me smile. Piper asking you to help with her hospital bag shows that she trusts you and values your experience. When I had my first baby, I packed everything the website suggested, and half of it never left the bag. By the 3rd time, my hospital bag looked completely different and much smaller. It's a good sign that she and her husband were immediately on your side. Also a good sign that the friends apologized once they heard the full picture. I hope your brunch goes well and that you both get to sit and laugh about this one day while your kids run around the table. This is one of those rare stories where talking things out actually fixed everything. You called and explained. Piper and her husband listened. They believed you and took action where it needed to be taken, which was with his mother and that friend group, not with you. It really sounds like future mother-in-law wanted all extra attention to funnel through her. If someone was going to be whispering or pulling people aside, she wanted to be the one doing it. That's not how these things work. A baby shower is for the parents to be. You handled yourself well. You went to the source, cleared things up, and walked away with a stronger relationship with Piper. That's a win. So let me get this straight. OP wore a ring and brought the baby her cousin invited. Right. Some folks will accuse you of stealing the spotlight, even if all you did was breathe politely. He seriously wasn't hitting on you. I saw a post here about an entitled woman thinking she was getting hit on, and it instantly reminded me of a former friend. My, 33 female, former college friend, Jen, 31 female, has always had a hard time knowing when someone was hitting on her. It was almost comical. My friends and I could literally clock her turn to us and say that the server, bartender, barista, whoever was hitting on her. They were not. We would tell her sometimes, and she would push back, even though we watched the whole interaction. It's their job to be nice. They want your money. That's it. This story happened maybe a year or two after we graduated. That night, I met Jen downtown for a night of drinking. We went to a restaurant with a nice bar that's just 2 steps away from the actual bars. While we were hanging out in the bar area, one of my best friend's boyfriend walked in. He's about the same age as us. I introduced them, and we all chatted for maybe 2 minutes before he excused himself and said he was going to go find his friends outside. The second he was out of earshot, Jen immediately turned to me and said he was totally hitting on her. I calmly said no, he was not. She waved me off. I repeated he wasn't flirting, and she came back with how he gave her a vibe and how I wouldn't understand the way he looked at her. I told her no again. He was mainly looking at me because I was the one talking to him. There was no vibe. He was just being nice. She dismissed that too. I finally told her he seriously wasn't interested. 2 reasons. 1, he's taken, and 2, he's gay. She still tried to dismiss me. Like, you're so desperate to think someone is hitting on you that now gay men in relationships are falling at your feet? I could tell so many stories of Jen thinking she was being hit on. My friends and I could practically predict the exact moment she was going to insist someone wanted her every time. Jen sounds like the type who thinks the self-checkout is flirting just because the machine asks her to place her item in the bagging area. She probably hears that and thinks it's the beginning of a slow burn romance. Someone needs to tell her that those machines flirt with everyone. They don't discriminate. And don't forget the automatic doors. They slide open for anyone, but she probably thinks they're being chivalrous just for her. She walks in, they open, and she takes it as a gentleman's bow. Meanwhile, they do it for the guy carrying 6 grocery bags behind her too. I knew someone like this, and it was honestly exhausting to witness. It wasn't even confidence. It was like she needed every interaction to prove something to herself. A guy could say, "Excuse me," while reaching for a napkin, and she'd spend the next hour breaking down how he was secretly into her. It gets to a point where you can't even reassure them anymore because they don't want reality. They just want fantasy. Your Jen sounds exactly like that. Jen really thought the universe revolved around her. With the way she talks, I'm shocked the moon doesn't ask her out. Am I the jerk for not paying for my sister's college when I'm paying for my fiance's? I, 29 male, grew up dirt poor. I'm talking sharing meals and lights being off half the month poor. My parents did their best, but there were 5 of us and money was always tight. I hustled like crazy after high school, community college, then transferring to a good university while working full-time. I graduated with loans but landed a solid job in tech. Fast forward a decade and I've got a good income, no debt, and to top it off, I just won $20,000 betting on sports. My fiance, who's 26, is finishing her degree. She's been working too, but with her schedule and the costs of school, I offered to pay for her last 2 semesters so she could focus on graduating without loans. I want us to start our marriage on solid ground, so I don't mind helping her out. Enter my younger sister, who's 21. She's still in school and recently found out that I'm paying for my fiance's tuition. She flipped, saying if I can afford that, I should help her too. She's always been bitter about me getting out and doing well while she and the rest of the family are still struggling. I get it, but here's the thing. I've worked hard to get to where I am, and I feel like my fiance and I are building a future together. My sister and I aren't close, and I feel like she's asking out of entitlement, not need. My parents have now chimed in, saying it's family first and that I'm just abandoning them. I don't think I owe anyone anything, especially since I've already helped out when I could. I paid off their electric bill last winter, etc. I'm torn. I don't want to be a selfish jerk, but I also don't want to set a precedent of being the family ATM. Am I the jerk? Tell them, yes, family first. This is why I'm prioritizing the family my fiance and I are building and the family that we will be creating. My boyfriend erased the whiteboard I had my novel timeline on, plus updates. I've been working on a novel for about a year. I write every day, even if it's just a sentence. 6 months ago, my college switched to smartboards and threw all of their whiteboards in the garbage. I grabbed 2 of them because I have a huge open wall space in my living room. Most of my writing is done on Google Drive, but I use the whiteboards for things like character personalities, names, places, and a general timeline. Basically, all the details I want to keep track of. They've been a great resource. I used to take pictures of my notes so I could have ideas with me, especially when I was writing on my lunch breaks. But I stopped writing during lunch a few months ago because it was burning me out, and my writing quality started to suffer. Plus, my boyfriend helps me write, and working on the novel together has been a great way to connect. It's become something we share, so I haven't felt the need to photograph the boards in a while. The whiteboards are especially helpful because I can see my notes across the room while sitting in my favorite chair. When I got home last night, I discovered that all my work on the boards had been erased. Every single note, idea, and sketch was gone. The whiteboards were full of train of thought notes, things I'd jot down as they came to me. Writing by hand is cathartic for me, and some of those notes and sketches weren't anywhere else, not even on Google Drive. While I remembered a lot of what was there, some details are lost forever. What hurts even more is that my boyfriend erased it all. We don't live together, so it wasn't like it happened accidentally while he was cleaning or moving things around. He told me that he felt I'd been focusing too much on my writing and that I didn't have enough time for him. That completely blindsided me because we spend a lot of time together, 5 or 6 nights a week at my place. Our usual dynamic has always been comfortable. I write while he plays video games. We laugh, he helps me with wording, and I Google things to help him with his games. It's something I thought we both enjoyed. This is the first time he's mentioned feeling neglected or unhappy. If he had brought it up, we could have talked about it and found a compromise. Instead, he went nuclear, and I have no idea why. I didn't know what to do. I was so upset that I asked him to leave. He hasn't called, texted, or stopped by since then. That silence is making everything worse. My feelings are all over the place. Rage, sadness, confusion, sorrow, anger. I keep typing out questions to ask him, but I delete them every time. Why did you do it? Are you unhappy with our relationship? What did I do? The worst part is that he hasn't reached out all day. That silence makes me afraid to call him because I don't know what he'll say. I'm terrified he'll tell me he thinks we should just break up, that he doesn't want to be with me when I'm writing, or, just as bad, that he'll ignore my call altogether. This situation feels like a betrayal. Writing isn't just a hobby for me, it's part of who I am. He knows that, and up until now, he's been my biggest supporter. My family loves him. We're so much a part of each other's lives. Just a few weeks ago, my family took him on vacation, and we've spent so much time together watching his nephew or planning our future. We even went to the jewelry store to look at rings recently. I feel heartbroken. He's my muse, my partner in so many ways, and now I'm left wondering what this means for us. As a fellow writer, I'd be livid if I were you. This is the first time he's mentioned it bothers him? If this is true, and he jumped straight to sabotage, that's messed up. It's messed up regardless, because I'm sure your boyfriend knows how important this work is to you. Like, for him to not try to talk to you about this after 3 years is mind-boggling. Who does this? Text him the dreaded "we need to talk" message. Ask him when he's available and have him come over to use his words like a grown adult. Also, take his key away, or change your locks if you don't want to be that upfront about it. He lost his privileges. To be honest though, in all sincerity, I don't know if this is something I could move past. It comes off as so cruel. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he chose to go into your home when you weren't there because he knew it was wrong. He either knows he messed up, or he feels like he's in the right, which is why he hasn't reached out to you. I'm shocked and appalled on your behalf, OP. Update 3 months later. The night I made my post, I went to a friend's house. She ordered a pizza, we got some ice cream, and we shared a bottle of wine. She's a straight shooter, someone who takes a neutral approach and gives solid relationship advice, so I felt comfortable opening up to her about everything. We talked through it all, trying to figure out why he had done something so hurtful. We went over how he and I spent our time together and how much he seemed to care about me. We even discussed how we used to look into each other's eyes like we were the only 2 people in the room. But as we talked, it became clear there was a lot of hesitation on my part that I hadn't fully acknowledged. I realized I tend to focus on the positives and forgive faults, or even overlook them entirely. I suspect it's some kind of coping mechanism I picked up during my childhood. It also became clear that there were unresolved issues between us. I think he had been holding on to some resentment, but whenever I tried to bring it up, he had dismissed me with, "It's fine, I don't care anymore," only to bring those same issues up again during arguments. I hadn't realized how toxic that pattern was until I said it out loud. That night, I texted him to let him know I'd be coming over the next day to talk. I told him I'd arrive around 11 a.m., and the only thing he texted back was, "Okay." I didn't reply. The next morning, I went to his house as planned, but when I got there, he was still asleep. When I woke him up, he seemed annoyed, like I was inconveniencing him. His reaction took the wind out of my sails. I'd gone there determined to have a serious conversation, but in that moment, I felt so defeated. Normally, when someone upsets me, I cry, but I was too angry and heartbroken even to do that. I left without saying a word and he didn't follow me. On my way out, I stopped in the kitchen and took my house key from his keyring. When I got home, I collected all his things, put them in a box, and left it on my porch. I texted him to come by and pick them up. His response was, "What? That's fine. I'll come by later and get them." After that, I went out with a few friends. We drank and had some amazing food. For a little while, I felt better. But when I got home, I saw that his things were gone. I was heartbroken all over again. I didn't text him after that, and he didn't text me either. I got absolutely no closure. People always say closure is overrated, but I've had such a hard time moving on without it. It's been 3 months now, and I still cry in the shower sometimes. Even though I was the one who ended the relationship, I still feel confused and heartbroken. I never found out why he did what he did, and I probably never will. I miss his companionship, and I miss the way we used to help each other. I'd love to sit here and say I finished my book, but the truth is, I haven't written much since. I can't get into my characters' heads anymore. There's this feeling of loneliness and grief that I can't shake. It's ironic because those feelings have helped me create a better outline, but I still can't bring myself to write about my characters. I'm not confused anymore. Sometimes I still get sad, especially at night or when I'm out and accidentally make prolonged eye contact with someone. I haven't thought about dating again. I'm still too hurt to even consider it, but every day I feel like I'm moving on a little more. I'm dating a new guy who's pretty upset with me. I met him on a dating app and we've been dating for about 2 weeks. We got a drink on Thursday, went for coffee and a walk the following Sunday, and then to dinner this past Saturday. The night after our very first date, he told me he did a thing. When I asked what it was, he sent a screenshot of deleting his dating apps. I asked why he did that, and he responded, "I'm over it." I didn't think much into this, besides that he was frustrated with dating apps and was hopeful towards our next date. When I told him I went to a bar for a drink one night last week, he texted back to ask, "Are these other dates you're going on?" To which I responded, "Nope, just catching up with a friend tonight." I was abroad the week before our first date, and when I showed him some photos, he said, "Just don't post all the ones of you looking so good. You'll have to fight the guys off with a stick." Which now I'm looking back and finding to be a weird thing to say. He also mentioned a concern with how much I love to travel, as he would always be worried about me. After dinner on Saturday, he asked if I had been going on dates with other people, and I told him that I had declined a few recently. Fast forward to today, he asked where I went last night, and I told him I went out with a guy who had been asking me out for a while, but that I was most excited about seeing him, the guy I had been out on 3 dates with. We didn't have any plans yet for a 4th date, so I had been feeling uncertain about where we stood. He responded back saying, "Yeah, I knew something was up, to be honest. Well, it was nice spending the time I did with you. You were the only one I was talking to, and I respected you enough to not entertain anyone else. I'm not going to deal with trying to keep your attention on me when I had all mine on you." He also said, "I've seen what going out with friends looks like in many different ways, courtesy of my past relationships, and my gut feeling has never been wrong." I asked him if he would be willing to talk through this in person, to which he declined. Although this was only 3 dates, I'm feeling pretty hurt and confused, as I never intended to make him feel disrespected, and I really did like him a lot. I've been burned in the past for rushing into relationships, so I thought that I was doing the right thing by taking it slow and trying to be transparent in his questioning. I wish he would have more explicitly spoken to me about wanting to become exclusive. I asked him if he would give me a few minutes on the phone, and he said, "Not tonight. I'm not making conversation when I'm upset like this." He also said, "I don't need an apology or a dinner. We were talking pretty heavy, and after going out a few times, I told you how I felt and deleted my app. I didn't expect the same, but at least the respect of not entertaining other guys." Any advice? Just let him go. 2 weeks is not worth this drama. Seriously, insert Ace Ventura obsess much quote here. Y'all went on 3 dates, and he thinks that his decision to make it exclusive by doing a thing makes it okay to back you into a corner, force you to make it exclusive, and then control your life? Red flags. Agreed. Apart from his possessive behavior and his projecting his past relationship issues, his communication skills at 30 years old are quite subpar. Doing a thing and then prattling about "I'm over it," and OP is supposed to know that means he likes her a lot and would prefer to be exclusive? Geez, that's a lot. I've dealt with plenty of losers like this myself. He sounds pathetic, controlling, and manipulative. So just because he's desperate, you're supposed to stop going on dates and enjoying yourself? He probably listens to those podcasts with the bald guys who talk about being alpha when the truth is they are just insecure and sad. You should have told him, "Okay, well then, have a nice life," instead of pursuing him to speak about it any further. Him asking where you are all the time after a date or two is a huge red flag. This guy is insecure and is incapable of a relationship with anyone. He also expected you to magically know he was only seeing you and expected you to do the same, which is highly rare after a few dates. Do not chase this guy to get some answers or appease him. Move on and save yourself from likely going through heck to keep his ego up. No one wants that one-sided emotional labor either. I don't know. I thought the guy sounded nice and like he really liked you. I did a thing. Sounds like he was trying to gently introduce the idea of being exclusive with each other and see how you felt about it. Back in my day, if you were going on dates with someone, you stopped dating other people for that time. I guess times are just different now because my daughters do this same thing. They date a few guys at a time, and I know that both of them have had guys get upset in the past when they found out they weren't the only guys they are dating. All I know is I'm glad I was a teenager in the 80s before the dating apps. Am I the jerk for arguing with my parents because they bought new windows and doors for my new home without asking? I, 30 female, got into a huge argument with my parents today because they decided, without consulting me, to replace all the windows and doors in the house I bought. They don't live with me, and they never once asked what I wanted in terms of design or even if I wanted to make these changes in the first place. It's already done. They've ordered everything, and the materials are scheduled to be delivered next week. When I confronted them, they told me I was an ungrateful child who doesn't know anything about life and that I should just keep quiet and accept it since they're paying for it anyway. But I didn't ask them to do this, nor did I want to replace the doors at this moment. I'm currently removing all the floors and bathroom tiles, which is a super messy and dusty process. The old doors were perfect for now because I didn't have to worry about damaging them. When I arrived at the house today, I found all the interior doors tossed into the garbage container. My parents didn't stop there. They even removed all the door handles and hinges because their friend liked the vintage style and wanted them for himself. To say I was shocked would be an understatement. They seem to think that because they can throw money at me, I should just accept whatever they do. While I do feel bad for getting angry since, money-wise, this is a very generous gift, I can't ignore how far they've overstepped. This is my house. I paid for it myself. I didn't ask them for help or permission to make these changes, and they certainly didn't have the right to do it without asking me first. For some additional context, 1. In my family, it's normal for everyone to have keys to each other's houses. My parents and siblings all have keys to mine, just as I have keys to theirs. However, I don't show up unannounced or without permission, nor do my siblings. Only my parents are behaving this way, which makes it all the more frustrating. To clarify, only the interior doors were removed, not the exterior ones. But I should mention again that they threw out every single one of them, hinges and all, just so their friend could keep the hardware. I don't know who their contractors are. My parents refused to give me any information, so I can't call to cancel anything. Apparently, they ordered the windows weeks ago, but only told me now that they'll be delivered next week. I'll be changing the locks on Monday. This was the last straw. No one is currently living in the house. I'm still staying in my apartment while these major renovations are ongoing, which makes it even more baffling that they decided to do this without speaking to me first. And finally, just to be clear, I paid for this house myself. I mentioned that earlier, but some people are assuming otherwise. If they had bought it for me, I might understand their attitude more. But this is my home, and they had no right to interfere the way they did. Their actions have left me feeling disrespected and frustrated. While I appreciate their financial help, the way they went about it is completely unacceptable. I feel stuck between being grateful for the gesture and angry at their complete disregard for my autonomy. Not the jerk. They've undermined you as a homeowner and as an adult. You don't have anything to be grateful for. Send them back when they arrive. Can you rescue the doors and put them back in? Get the doors and windows you actually want in your own time. Not the jerk. It's your home. You bought the house. Call and cancel the order or refuse the delivery and explain that you, as the owner, never authorized the purchase. If your parents have keys, change the locks and set some boundaries. Guilt over something you didn't ask for is a control device they use to hold an obligation to them. You're denying me service? Yes. Our hotel, a 126-room business establishment in northern Minnesota, is completely booked. A significant corporate event with a substantial turnout of around 80 attendees has reserved the majority of our rooms, leaving only 10 available. Unfortunately, these remaining rooms were also cleaned by construction workers. Regrettably, many of them exhibit a tendency to react strongly to various situations, often overreacting and seem to enjoy asserting their dominance in confrontations. Among these individuals is Gary. who stands out for being particularly difficult to deal with. On this occasion, Gary approached the front desk with the intention of checking in. "Hello, I'd like to check in," he stated. "Certainly. Could you show me your ID, please?" "That won't be necessary." I allowed a brief pause before responding. "Actually, I do need to see your ID." "No, you really don't. I've been staying here for months. Showing my ID isn't necessary." "I understand your point, but it's our policy to request an ID from all guests." "Well, nobody else bothers with it," he argued. "They might not be following proper procedures. Please provide your ID." Gary, expressing his frustration, continued. "I'm not going to show you my ID." "Unfortunately, I won't be able to provide you with your room key unless I see it." "So, you're denying me service simply because I won't show you my ID?" "Yes, that's correct." In response, Gary sighed heavily and launched into a tirade. However, I remained unaffected by the outburst of this middle-aged man. "Others never ask for my ID." "Sir, even if someone as significant as Jesus himself walked in here, I'd still require a government-issued ID card. So, if you wouldn't mind showing me yours." Reluctantly, Gary relented and reached for his wallet. I promptly accessed his reservation details and proceeded. "Thank you. Now could you kindly swipe or insert your card here?" "I'm not going to do that. Nobody else has ever asked me to." "This could be due to improper practices elsewhere, but we follow our procedures diligently." "Your insistence seems more about your ego than anything else," Gary said. "I have no need to bolster my ego. However, it's essential for you to complete the card process." "Why is it necessary?" "In case there's a dispute regarding the charges, having your authorization on record helps us combat fraudulent activity." "Are you implying that I'm a fraud?" "No, not at all. But if you could just swipe or insert your card, we'd really appreciate it." "I'm not gonna do it. I'm not concerned about helping your establishment." "My responsibility is to ensure that you follow the required procedure," I said. "Well, I'm not going to comply," he maintained. "In that case, I'm afraid I can't give you access to your room." "Isn't it your job to satisfy customers? Because I'm definitely not satisfied." While I aim to provide a satisfactory experience, compliance with necessary steps is part of that process. "Just call your manager," he said. "I don't believe that's necessary." "I won't give you my card." "Then unfortunately, I can't provide you with your room key. Have a pleasant evening." As I turned away, the unexpected happened. Gary produced his card and completed the required transaction. With the payment confirmed, I handed him his keys and offered a courteous smile. "Enjoy your stay." "You're quite a stickler, you know that?" he criticized. "I'm here to ensure a respectful environment. If you engage in any of this mistreatment towards me or my colleagues, I will be compelled to involve the authorities. This is your only warning. Have a good night," I cautioned. Gary started to retort, but upon noticing my actions, he seemed to think better of it and walked away, mumbling at me. Interestingly, his supervisor entered the lobby just 10 minutes later and was displeased by the feedback I provided regarding Gary's behavior. Update. Upon arriving at work today, I picked up a half shift to assist my coworker on a particular busy day. Before my supervisor departed, he mentioned, "Oh, by the way, we no longer offer that construction company rate, and their employees are prohibited from staying on our premises. Remember Gary, your friend? He was involved in 3 separate altercations with our staff yesterday, which led the management to terminate their contract for discounted stays and expel them from our establishment." So there you have it. While I'm not entirely sure of the complete story, I'll provide an update once I find out. Update. Gary's day had commenced with him demanding that our recently hired auditors furnish him with a receipt showing a zero balance before completing the audit process. They were unfamiliar with such a procedure, and Gary proceeded to express his anger towards them. On that same morning, our newly appointed general manager convened a meeting with the sales team to discuss raising the rates for the construction company, given their employees' history of problematic behavior. Additionally, the team mentioned the unsettling treatment their one female colleague at the front desk had been subjected to by the company's employees. Instances included inquiries about her shifts, remarks about her car, and probing questions about her availability. The sales team informed the company's representative that their rates would double and cautioned them about standing on thin ice. Any further incidents would result in the contract being voided, leading to the loss of the discount and a ban from our establishment. Approximately 20 minutes later, Gary stormed downstairs and vented his frustration at my coworker. The new GM subsequently gave the company 30 minutes to vacate our premises and terminated their contract. Am I the jerk for not allowing my stepson, who's 12, to live with us? I have 2 sons who are 10 and 5, and I'm getting married in the next couple of weeks to my boyfriend who has a 12-year-old son from a previous relationship. My future husband's son asked his dad if he could come live with us after we get married because he wants to experience a genuine family dynamic with parents and siblings, given that his biological parents never married anyone else. My husband is on board with this idea, believing it would contribute positively to the boy's personal growth. I expressed to my husband that I have reservations about having him live with us, based on observations during the weekends he spends at our house. Firstly, he appears to have a strained relationship with my younger son. He rarely includes him in activities unless I specifically ask him to do so. When we're at the park and I ask him to accompany my other son to the restroom for safety reasons, he gets an attitude about it. Secondly, he displays an excessive competitive streak towards my older son. He consistently aims to outperform him and even taunts him when he succeeds. I find this overly competitive atmosphere uncomfortable. I desire my kids to grow up in a nurturing and supportive environment. The third and most significant concern is his academic and behavioral performance. My boyfriend has informed me that his son has been struggling academically and has faced minor behavioral challenges. I'm concerned about his potential negative influence on my kids, particularly my older one. My husband dismisses these concerns as typical for his age, believing that with guidance he can improve. I sought advice from my mother, and she disagrees with me, asserting that providing a united family environment could greatly benefit my stepson. Both of them label my reasons as unreasonable. Am I the jerk? Update. I know that I'm not the best person, but I've never mistreated or ignored him. I care for him. I realize now that I was being overly protective of my own kids and not considering things from my future stepson's perspective. Moreover, as a responsible adult, I understand that I have an obligation to help him with behavior and school grades. I talked to my boyfriend and I accept that he can live with us. Now we'll need to move to a new house so that each kid can have their own room, and we'll have to work on getting custody. You're the jerk. You're marrying his father, so you should start considering him as your son as well. If your oldest son starts displaying all these behaviors, then surely you wouldn't just kick him out and give up on him. I would get your boyfriend on board with ways to deal with the behaviors that you're not happy with. You're the jerk. He's your soon-to-be husband's son. He's just as entitled to live under that roof as your kids are. End of story. I cannot believe this is real. You're the jerk. Seems like you fully expect your fiancé to be a father figure to your kids, but you have no interest in being a mother to his. What would your reaction be if your fiancé didn't want your boys living with y'all after marriage? Would it be a deal breaker? Would you consider it? Remember, it's what you're asking from him. You seem very selfish and like you want your idea of the perfect family, which doesn't include stepson. You should look for a partner without kids. Am I the jerk for saying I don't like my friend's boyfriend, which caused him to lose a job opportunity? I, 27, have a friend, Natalie, who has a boyfriend, Jamie. Jamie is a complete jerk. He's one of those people who makes below-the-belt jokes and then calls you sensitive if you don't find it funny. In fact, in the 18 months I've known him, he's insulted Natalie to her face too many times to count. He's called many of our mutual friends rude and demeaning things and has purposefully antagonized me on many occasions. We all put up with him because if we don't, we'd never see Natalie. But he really is the butt of every joke and a walking cliche. My roommate, Harry, recently had a job come up with his company that Natalie asked him to interview Jamie for. Harry is part of our wider friendship group. His friend is dating one of the girls in our group and has met Jamie but not really spent much time with him, so thought he was an alright guy. I decided to keep out of it because I know Jamie has been unemployed for a while and it's really affected Natalie. However, when Harry mentioned he was going to do the interview at our apartment, he could see I was uncomfortable. I didn't mention anywhere near the extent of Jamie's behavior, just said he had made a couple of demeaning remarks to and about me, and I wasn't overly keen on being around him. I told Harry not to do anything about this and that he should hire the best person for the job. Harry went through with the interview, but he made Jamie do a lot of prep work and a presentation to other employees, and then made the interview extremely long for no reason. Then at the end, he said he wasn't going to hire him. Jamie got mad at Natalie over it, and she got mad at me, saying that I shouldn't have said anything about Jamie, knowing how great the job would be and how hard it is to get jobs in the field. On top of that, I should have been sensitive to his unemployment and that I'm ignoring how difficult the job market is. She's now not speaking to me and our friends are divided. Two think I shouldn't have said anything because Jamie really needs the work and ultimately it would have been helping Natalie. One friend thinks it's fair that I express not wanting Jamie in my home and that I owed it to Harry to tell him because Jamie is an HR problem waiting to happen. On the one hand, yes, His off-the-clock behavior shouldn't cost Jamie a job. But on the other hand, why should I have to cover up for the way Jamie is? If honesty makes him look bad, then maybe that's his problem. Then again, I guess it was kind of petty and it had real-life consequences, so maybe I shouldn't have said anything. I'm not sure whether I should apologize. For everyone asking how it got out that I told Harry, Jamie went home and went off on Natalie about him not getting the job, as it was basically a lock, with Harry doing it as a favor to Natalie. She figured the only person who would have changed Harry's mind about doing her the favor was me, so she called and I ended up telling her the truth. She then told everyone else. Edit. For everyone who missed it in the post, Harry and I are roommates, so my home is his home. Harry has a home office and works out of that office most days. He conducts meetings from there all the time, which is normally fine because I know all of his employees really well. He did not end up having the interview with Jamie at the apartment, he had it at the registered company office. Not the jerk. It's likely that Harry didn't make the interview extremely long for no reason. He did it to test Jamie on the things that came up in your discussion, to see if your passing comments were just you having a personality conflict with a nice guy, or if the things you mentioned would be issues in his work. It's likely that the interactions with other employees was to see if others got an uncomfortable vibe. Most people can put on a good front for a short interview. Putting them in more real-world situations shakes people out of their best behavior, so you can see who they actually are on the job. You did nothing wrong. Jamie only has himself to blame for not getting the job. The fact that he got angry at Natalie because he didn't get a job tells you a lot about someone not taking responsibility for their own actions. That kind of behavior would totally come up in interactions with his potential coworkers and likely had more to do with why Jamie didn't get the job than anything you said. If he had got the job, he would likely have failed his probation period anyway. Am I the jerk for throwing the clothes on the floor when my kids don't fold them neatly? So I've always been kind of a neat freak mom the entire time my kids have been alive. I always expect their rooms to be clean, and I check drawers, closets, and storage bins to make sure that they don't just shove stuff in there to make the room appear clean. My kids, who are 16, 13, 9, and 6, are all responsible for putting away their laundry, and my eldest two are responsible for folding their own clothes, which bothers me because my 13-year-old folds his clothes in a way that bothers me. He rolls them instead of properly folding them. Ever since the kids have been home and have more free time, I'm more strict about the way they put away their clothes. I expect their clothes to be folded in a certain way and stored in a certain way. I read from a mommy blogger a few years ago that when her kids' clothes weren't organized, she would make a mess for them to organize the right way. I considered it for a few years, but now that the kids are old enough, I think it's the way for us to go. I haven't had to do this until yesterday. I walked into my 16-year-old's room while she was FaceTiming her boyfriend and saw her basket of laundry that needed to be folded, and out of curiosity, I opened the drawers and I saw that she had just shoved her clothes in there. I started making a mess and she screamed, "Mom, why?" And I told her she knew why. After that, I walked out of the room. She explained to her boyfriend what I had done, and he says, "Your mom is crazy." And I peek my head into her room, give her a look, and she ends the call with him and breaks down crying. I told my husband what happened, and he told me, "I knew you said you were going to do it, but I didn't think you would actually follow through with it." This morning, I woke up to a note on my daughter's door saying, "Until mom can get mental help, I'm staying with Aunt." I texted her, no response. I tried contacting my sister, who said she has no plans to return until I get mental help and stop being such a controlling jerk. My husband, sister, and mom are all against me, which hurts. I don't think it harmed anyone. It benefits her and helps her stay organized. Update. Almost 2 months ago, I made this post. It really blew up, and even people on Twitter chimed in. Well, the night I made the post, I was still in serious denial. I replied to some comments, and my denial was perfectly clear for everyone to see. The day after, I read some more comments and messages I received from everyone. I resorted to the guest room and cried for hours. I read some people telling me that their moms were similar to me and that they no longer have relationships with them. That was truly my worst fear. I seriously love my kids more than anything on this planet, even if my actions don't always show it. I booked a virtual appointment with a psychologist who diagnosed me with OCD and let me know that she would help me. I've since had about 8 sessions with her, and she's been a big help. Of course, I still have a long way to go, but I've been notching some improvements already. As for my daughter, she stayed at my sister's house and came home a few days after I told her that there would be major improvements in my behavior. I set all the kids down and told them that I have the resources to not be such an overbearing jerk to them anymore. One thing I do want to address is the fact that I was usually controlling with them, but the incident I wrote about was the one that sent both me and my daughter over the edge. Me and her are on much better terms now. I want to thank Reddit for helping me wake up to becoming a better mom and a wife. I also want to apologize to anyone who I brought back bad memories to. I want to have relationships with my kids until we all grow old, and I know so many of you guys don't have that, which breaks my heart. But also hearing your stories gave me a big change of heart and are helping me fix my relationships and become a better person. Imagine your spouse is demanding to live off-grid, and if you won't go with them, they'll do it without you. That's exactly what happens in our next story. It just popped up on your screen. Give it a tap and come have a listen. You won't believe what happens next.